All right, as promised, my, let's say my job list or my work schedule here. While I was still fresh and doing it, we're talking about the sight problems for the M91 Mosin Nagant. Now these are the original versions. Now years back, a bunch of these things right in the middle of the whole $100 Mosin Nagant craze, a whole pile of these somehow got in the country and were just quietly being introduced. And I mean, several pawn shops had them. Somebody was going around locally and saying, my brother has a collection of these Mosin Nagants, and was selling them to different pawn shops and gun shops. The guy must have had a ton of them, because I purchased these from local dealers, I should have bought every single one that I could find, okay, but I didn't. They were asking about $130, $140 for these guns at the time. So I purchased two of these. One's a Westinghouse and the other one is Sestroyevsky, so I have a Russian-made gun. But the thing is, these guns are all force-matched and mismatched. They were just guns assembled, left over from World War I, and I guess put into storage for years and then sold. And a bunch of them showed up on the market, and you know, it mustn't have been a huge supply, because they dried up pretty quick and now the prices are astronomical on these. It's ridiculous, because the guns are not really matching mint or anything like that. They're all kind of assembled. This one here, this Westinghouse, has all different parts on it, So the problem is, a friend of mine, Teleosser, somebody I knew for a long time on YouTube. I've never met him in person, but I communicate with the guy a lot. He got one of these little jets. He got an M91. And they're all finish captured. How you know that? And this is the problem. It comes to the sights. The rear sights on the left have the old Russian designation for Arshans or something. They're crossed out. And then there's a new designation the fins put on there, and the numbers are smaller. Like 2, 3, 5, so it's got to be meters, hundreds of meters, I guess. I'm not quite sure. But these guns still have the old-fashioned sights. We'll take a closer look at it here in a second. The problem is, my buddy went out and fired this gun, and he had to, bump this slider up to number 5 on this to get it anywhere close to hitting, which is about halfway up, to get it close to hitting at 50 yards. He's only shooting at 50 yards. Okay, so I went back and thought, when I got these guns, I was getting the M91 30s in by the basket load. I was buying 6, 7 at a time. I really didn't do a lot of work with this. I went out and shot these. I did videos on these rifles. And that's another thing I want to put in. If you're looking for my old videos, I've been making videos since 2011. So it's a lot of years. Okay, there used to be a way, now the last time I checked, but I don't know, YouTube changes the way they do things every 6 months. You go to my channel, go to the Cobra 49 channel. Once you get to my channel, there should be a way to hit a search box, and it isn't. Last time, or the last version they had, it wasn't quite, you had to click on something on the side and then have a little magnifying glass, search this channel. Search my channel is the quickest way to find my old videos, like M91 Mosin, and these videos should pop up from 6 years ago, okay? Have a little list there. That's the way to find my old videos. I did videos taking a look at these guns, at the markings. That's when I was going through the markings and the sights. There are videos I published a long time ago, and even for me sometimes it's hard to find them. But search my channel, find the videos, and you'll see a close-up of these guns. Alright, so now let's take a closer look at the guns. And the problem is, these sights are different. They're different than M91 30 sights. They're the old sights. And I think what it is, we're getting the wrong sight picture, or we're using the sights the wrong way. Now I had this theory. Now, Teleosaurus did not explain to me exactly what he was doing, so I went out, made that video last week where I shot these guns and got the same results he did. Okay, and I'm going to show you on the board the sight picture I used. At 50 yards, I was shooting like a foot low. Okay, I was low. Alright, and I said, there's got to be something we're not doing. I went and looked. There's no references to these sights. There's no diagram of sight pictures. So I think we're using the sights wrong. People came up, well, they use a different type of ammo. They did this, they did that. Even in a difference of bullet weights. They go from 150 to 220 with a 7.62 by 54 rim. So historically you had all these different types of bullets. It's still a machine gun round, so there's weird special bullets used for machine guns and that, but just in the rifles, standard issue, you have a huge variance. Even with that variance in the bullet weight, it should not be shooting that great or large of a distance. Okay, that means we're doing something wrong, we don't understand something. So my theory was, we're using the wrong sight picture. I went out yesterday. I'm going to attach the shooting part to the end of this video and the targets. And I was correct. What I did is I tried using the sights differently. So let's take a closer look at the sights. Okay, as you see, this is way different in an older type of sight than the M91 30. I'm going to pull this up to give you an idea. You can see it. Look at the back end here, because this is important. That's where I'm going to show you the sight picture up here on the board. Okay, and like I said, what he was doing is he was having to bump this up to the middle of this ramp, raise this up to where we were hitting at 50 yards, so it's wrong. So alright, so after some thought in that, I went out yesterday, tested my theory. Let's go to the board and see the visual. I'll explain the whole situation to you there. Alright, please excuse me, I'm not an artist, but this is kind of what I come up with to give you a visual representation. Now, your standard military sight. Now, after about the 1890s, the Mauser style sight, which is a pretty flat slider, and if you look at a 91 30, it's similar to a Mauser sight. Even on like the SKS or a lot of Mauser guns, a lot of old military bolt action rifles, what you're going to have is basically a rear sight of some sort, like this, with just a square notch or a notch, and then this green that's your front sight post. You line up even with the rear sight, and you either will hit it, you know, aiming at 6 o'clock, or you cut the target in half with this line, and the bullet will impact right where that is, or slightly above it. So that's a standard sight, and that's what we're all used to, and you know, it's common sense. You get a rifle, line it up. So here I have kind of a representation of that rear sight on that Mosin 91. It's kind of got a little notch humped up like this in the middle. It's lower, and then where the buttons are here is where your buttons are to move the sight, here and here. That top edge kind of goes above that, looking at it, at least from the lower angle, and is kind of higher than the tops of the notch. So, using common sense, we take the gun. We line up the sights. We put the top of the blade, and that's a dotted line, equal with the top of the notch. I believe that's what my buddy was using, and when I do this sight picture, now like I said, these little side wings are a tad bit higher, and then you got your notch, and you put, just like your standard sight, you put the blade even with the top of the notch. Well, when you shoot like that, you're way low at 50 yards. I mean, way low. So what we were doing is using the buttons. We were sliding the sight up halfway and using this sight picture 50 yards or close to hitting point of aim. So I was thinking to myself, well, this is wrong. So let me go and experiment. So I said, maybe you use this upper edge here, like I did here. And this is my first, when you see the video of me shooting, this is the first sight picture that I used. And what I did was get that front sight up higher, the blade, up higher in this notch, and tried to line it up even, using that as a gauge for height reference, like this. Still shooting low, not as bad, but it got it up. So I said, okay, I think I'm getting on something here. I'm kind of right. So what I did the second time around, and got close to the bullseye or close, is just by eye and guesstimating, I would take that front sight blade up higher and make it just barely higher than these two sides. See, it's my dotted line. Your straight line here, I was taking the blade up to where it was even with that as a reference. Still low. I did it to where I was kind of gauging the height and going above this here. Now I was getting close. I was getting real close. So that kind of proved I was right. But then I'm thinking, how do you do that? It was kind of like a guess. And actually, I guessed it somehow. I recognized this way. I repeated it because the grouping was close. I had 3 shots touching in that. So I was close, but I wasn't quite sure. Now, if you take this sight and tip it back, tip the rifle back until this blade comes up, and then you see this little blue here? This would be the bottom of the blade base where it gets square. You will either see the bottom of the sight base, the square flat part that it sits on, or you would see the top of the handguard, one or the other, would be down in the bottom of the notch. Well, what you want to do as a reference to help you is tip the gun up, see the base. Okay, this is going to be way too high. And then gently lower your sight to where you no longer see the base. You just see the blade. In other words, you want to just keep going up with the blade until you just see the blade alone, not the base or the handguard. That is the correct sight picture, and that'll be way up higher than this. And you know, the thing looks, it's odd because it sticks up, it looks tall, you know, it's huge. But that would be the correct way on how to do it to get you right on. Now, I was out there yesterday, it's been hot, it's been like almost 100 damn degrees here. I got about 30 rounds out between the two guns, but I think this is the right way to do it. I'm probably not going to go out and do it because I was close enough in my estimation, but now after I thought about it, I'll give you a way that you can repeat the height setting each time. Go up till you see the base and then just tip the gun down where all you see is the blade, and it is going to be way higher than the sides, and it's going to stick up weird like that. And then your bullet at 50, 100 yards with the sight set all the way back should impact right there, right at the tip of the thing. That's where you should hit. I believe that's the correct way to use this sight. You can try my technique again. Once again, like I said, go up till you see the base and the bottom. Then just, you know, get the rifle back down to where all you see is just the blade, and it'll be way up higher than this. It'll stick up real tall. And then center it in a notch, and you should be right there. So all of you that had that question, give that a try. And now we're going to go on to where I was out on the range proving this out and finish up this video. We're out here this morning again with our M91s. I got a Westinghouse, which is this one, and a Setstroyevsky. The question started when my friend Teleosaurus got one of these rifles, was shooting it and found that it shot low. And I noticed the last time I shot these guns, same thing. I think we're not using the correct sight picture. No references, this older kind of ramp or whatever you want to call it sight. There are no references to this sight, a proper sight picture. Now most of the other Nagants or even the finished guns will have like a 91-30, that pretty straightforward rear sight. This is not like that. This is an older, different type of sight. I believe we're getting the wrong sight picture because what we do is we put the blade even with the notch and we shoot low, meaning that the front sight should come up. On the back of this, and I'll do a video and I'll draw an example of the sight picture to make it easy. Where the little thumb thing is to ramp it up, I think the front sight has to come up in the notch, and I'm going to use the little things on the side and keep it level with that, and try that as a sight picture and just roughly see. Now what I'm using is a silver tipped ammo, which is probably the most common ammo that was available. I still have a few tins of it. So I'm going to use this as a control, because I have some check ammo, but it seemed to shoot a bit more accurately than this. So I'm going to give it its first try. Okay, I think I'll put 5 through the Sestrojevsky and the other target. Okay, now we're going to give it a go with the other gun. Again, the sight is set to its lowest setting. Alright, let's go look at the targets. Okay, here's our Westinghouse. Now with a different sight picture, it's still shooting low, but not as low. Okay, with it in a notch, them bullets would have impacted down in here somewhere. So, I've got it to come up some. Now the thing is, try to figure out how to create a sight picture where I hit the bullseye. So that's with the Westinghouse. And as you see with the Sestrojevsky here, very similar results. Almost even the same, if you look, same point of impact. Okay? So it is, we're using the wrong sight picture. Alright, and it's kind of one of them things, you got to get that blade up in the notch a bit and judge, you know, where it is by another reference on the side. So I'm going to tape these up and I'm going to try again here
at 50 yards, try to figure out something and see if I can get them up into the diamond area. Okay, after figuring out what we've done and where we're at, now it's time to rethink it and modify it a little bit more. Try to get up into the diamond. Alright, Westinghouse trial tube. Setstroyevsky. And again, if no one or questions, we're shooting at 50 yards. Okay, target check time. Okay, as you see, I guess my assumption was correct. 5 shots, beautiful group. That's with the Westinghouse at 50 yards on the diamond. Okay. The Setstroyevsky, I got it up there, but obviously I didn't quite get it as high as it should be, but again, if you look, my aiming's somewhat consistent because elevation wise the point of impacts are almost the same. So it is a question of the sight picture. I will make a video discussing this and drawing on my little board there in my theater exactly what I was doing, much like I did with the Carcanos. So I hope this will straighten it out. If I get some time, I may go to 100 yards with these guns, give them a try. I'm not sure. It's hot. It's getting hot already. Alright, but that answers the question. Yes, it's a matter of us not using the correct sight picture. Okay, I took a few shots without going through it. This is the Westinghouse. Tried replicating it, but you see the inconsistency is I must have lowered it. Now the Setstroyevsky, I made it even taller. I went up, used that check ammo, and that big thing in the bottom I think is 3 shots. So I kind of got up even higher with the Setstroyevsky. So I think I'm gonna make a first part of this video explaining the sight picture, but I feel confident now. I may go to 100. I have some other work to do here today.